Hello and welcome. As you may know, Mechanics Academy is an online platform for mechanics education that I have been spending much of my spare time on over these past few months. During this process, I've come to the realization that in order to develop a high quality learning experience for students, I need to focus on this project full time, and I also need a few more resources at my disposal. While there is plenty of value in Mechanics Academy, purely as an endeavor in education, in today's talk I'm going to be presenting to you a business proposal for Mechanics Academy. If you're interested in investing in my idea, I would love to hear from you. If you or your organization is more interested in supporting Mechanics Academy purely as an online extension of your academic outreach, I'd like to point you to a related talk where I present a different value proposition for the project. You can find this too on the Mechanics Academy blog. And with all that out of the way, let's get to the presentation. As you've probably gathered by now, Mechanics Academy is an online platform I'm working on for anyone aiming to learn mechanics. To see where it fits in a broader picture, I'd like to start with some sobering facts about the education market. The university as we know it today has been in existence for over 1,000 years. And the entire time, universities have been at the forefront of research and innovation. Even so, and somewhat ironically, their methods for educating students have not evolved significantly in all this time. Most universities still follow a fairly traditional teaching model where we have one professor at a blackboard explaining things to a classroom filled with anywhere from a few to a couple hundred students. But over the past decade, rapid developments in internet technology have revolutionized the way we create and consume media, as well as how we communicate. Today, it's not difficult to connect those with knowledge with those who want to learn, wherever they may be located in the world. On top of this, when you're teaching online, you can teach in a conversational one-to-one manner. This creates an experience that is often more immersive and personal than a traditional large classroom. Creating such an experience is one of the principal goals for Mechanics Academy. Of course, I'm not the first person to notice that education is having its internet moment. In fact, venture capital investments in education technology companies in the US alone have tripled over the last decade or so, from some 146 million in 2002 to 429 million in 2011. It is interesting to note that such funding has grown quite rapidly, even though the rest of the US economy sank into recession. And this graph just reports the money coming in from for-profit organizations. Additional large amounts are being poured in by nonprofits, such as the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. But just where is all this money going? I've done quite a bit of research on this, and as you can see, there are numerous groups, both commercial and not-for-profits, who are turning to the internet to deliver education. In most cases, the sites that offer content for free are supported by universities or not-for-profit foundations, and those that charge for content are supported by external investors. I've classified the online learning initiatives that I have researched into three broad generations, and I'm now going to walk you through some of my basic findings. Follow the link in this video's description on the Mechanics Academy blog to get a closer look at this spreadsheet if you're interested in the details, and feel free to drop me a line with corrections or additions if you have any. The first generation of online educational sites are generally quite broad and aim simply to publish traditional non-interactive content online. As an example, let's take a closer look at an initiative from MIT called OpenCourseware. The core goal for MIT's OpenCourseware is a noble one. It is to deliver MIT's existing university course catalog to a worldwide audience for free. As you can see, the site contains a large number of courses which cover a variety of different fields. If we were to get into one of them, and let's say we go into electrical engineering and computer science as an example, what you're presented with is a long list of course titles, along with these little graphics that tell you what learning resources a given course provides. So these learning resources could be assignments and their solutions, lecture notes, exams and their solutions, and so on. Let's go check out one of these courses that has actual video lectures and watch one of them for a little bit. Let's see. How about this one on binary search and sorting algorithms?
The following content is provided under a Creative Commons license. Your support will help MIT OpenCourseWare continue to offer high-quality educational resources for free. To make a donation or view additional materials from hundreds of MIT courses, visit MIT OpenCourseWare at ocw.mit.edu.
Let's recap where we were. Last lecture we talked about, or started to talk about, efficiency, orders of growth, complexity. And I'll remind you, we saw a set of algorithms. Part of my goal was to get you to begin to recognize characteristics of algorithms that map into a particular class. So what did we see? We saw linear algorithms. Typical characterization, not all the time, but typical characterization is an algorithm that reduces the size of a problem by 1, or by some constant amount each time, is typically an example of a linear algorithm. And we saw a couple of examples of linear.
All right. So I hope you can hear me over my loud fans. As you can see, while the intellectual import of this material is high, these first generation sites focus primarily on putting up traditional, or in this case, existing material online. This content has not been created specifically for online distribution. Evolving from this, we then move on to the next generation of online learning initiatives. This second generation of sites tend to be a bit more polished and have specialized content created with online distribution in mind. They also have some degree of social interactivity built right in. Treehouse is a beautiful example of a site aimed at teaching people how to design and develop for the web and iOS. So here we are at the main page of the Treehouse website. The first thing I'm struck by is how beautiful their site looks. As I mentioned earlier, Treehouse aims to teach its students web design, web development, and iOS development. It does this primarily through a collection of training videos. Let's go watch a bit of an introductory video from the web design component.
Skills required of a web designer are growing all the time, so it's important to start off with a solid foundation that can be applied to any task that's thrown our way. If you're completely new to web design, don't worry. We're going to start from the very beginning by creating our first HTML web page. As we move through HTML, we'll learn about all the elements and semantics that you'll need to know. After learning about HTML, we'll cover CSS, or cast.
I'm sure you noticed how polished their presentation was. Apart from the videos, the site also uses elements of leveling up commonly found in games. I'm going to call this gamification. Students who make it through quizzes on the material that they've learned watching videos can unlock badges. And having a clear number of badges or achievements linked to a learning task incentivizes students to complete their learning goals. Oh, and since this is a business talk, one last thing I'd like to point out is this website's payment model. Treehouse uses a tiered pricing model for their content. They charge about $50 per month for essentially all their content, and $25 per month for a subset of their content. And they also offer discounts for groups. But as polished as these sites are, they continue to provide, for the most part, a passive experience, where the student essentially consumes information. But pedagogical evidence suggests that people learn best when actively participating. This has resulted in a current generation of sites that are extremely polished and go beyond just housing traditional learning material. This modern crop of sites also feature interactive exercises, gamification, social interaction with others, and even deadlines, all aiming to create the best possible learning experience for students. A wonderful example of this is Code School, where students learn programming through interactive video lessons and programming exercises, all done within the browser. Learning on Code School is a lot of fun. I recently signed up for an account on the site and decided to get introduced to Ruby, a language I haven't used before. As you can see, the site presents programming in a visually unintimidating way. The coolest part is that it provides an interactive session right there within the browser. So you can follow their instructions and try things out right then and there. So let's see. Here they're trying to teach me how to define lists in Ruby. So here we go. 47, 35. And now we're going to try to find the maximum of this list. As you can see, the site offers you constant feedback. And if I were to make a mistake and do something strange, I will get the actual Ruby error. This is very cool. And the site also records your progress. Much like Treehouse, the courses covered on Code School tend to focus a lot on web programming. And in particular, for Code School, it's JavaScript and Ruby. The content on the site is, I think, available for around, let's see, yes, the content on the site is available for $25 a month, which is comparable to Treehouse. But if you take a closer look at the current generation of interactive sites on our earlier table, you'll quickly see that most of these efforts focus on computer science and web programming. This is probably because the computer science and web programming communities are arguably the best poised to create innovative websites to teach their own fields. But my goal for Mechanics Academy is to bring such modern, polished, technology-based learning to the more classical field of mechanics. Mechanics Academy will blend some of the best ideas from previous online learning initiatives. The platform will feature high-quality video lectures and supplementary material, interactive exercises, interactions between students and instructors, and gamification. The site is designed from ground up to be responsive and available anywhere. And you can check this out if you have a smartphone or a tablet to try the site out with. The site also plans to connect top students to potential recruiters. Let me take you through a tour of some prototypes I've created, which demonstrate some of these features. So here we are at an initial prototype for Mechanics Academy. Before we go any further, I'm going to reiterate that this is only a prototype, and much of the content you are going to see are just placeholders for awesome things that will one day take their place. I imagine that the main page will highlight some featured content, as well as some recent lectures, and there's just one right now. The content on Mechanics Academy is going to be cataloged into various courses, and I've set up some dummy ones over here, and I've classified these in turn based on the kinds of topics they cover. So for example, we could have all the theory courses grouped in one group, the programming courses, and the application courses. And if you were to go into one of these that I'm actually starting to develop right now, you will see some basic information about the course. So you have a description, a course plan, and so on. And if you scroll all the way down to the bottom, you arrive at one lonely lecture that's related with this course. We're going to look at the balance of linear momentum of the body in the current configuration. What this means is that we have a body B sitting in the current configuration, omega t. And at every point x in the body, we subject it to a body force B, and everywhere along the boundary of the body, we subject it to a surface traction T. If you recall from earlier lectures, this surface traction is nothing but the Cauchy stress sigma times the outer normal. Obviously, I'm a fan of the Khan Academy lecture style. The site will also offer support in two basic forms. First, you have the usual support forums where students can interact amongst themselves as well as with instructors. But on top of this, I also plan on offering scheduled hangouts on Google+, where students can ask questions to instructors face-to-face. You can continue to browse mechanicsacademy.org on your own leisure, but for now, let's take a look at the back end of the site. Here is where instructors will log in to publish their content. What you see here is a customized WordPress installation where I've introduced 2 additional custom post types to house lectures and courses. When I click courses, you see a list of the dummy courses that I've set up, and you can click the computational biomechanics course that I'm starting to set up, and you can see some basic information about the course in HTML and a bunch of related information, such as the instructors related to the course and the topics that the course is covered. Similarly, if you were to go into the lecture section, you end up with our little lonely lecture. And again, we have some primary content, some related content, as well as some meta content. In this case, we have courses that the particular lecture belongs to, and a given lecture can belong to multiple courses. While much of this pertains to storing static content, I imagine that interactive learning exercises will play a big part of the education on Mechanics Academy. For this, I imagine a version of the Phoenix project presented online. The Phoenix project is a collection of free software with an extensive list of features for automated, efficient solution of differential equations. Phoenix offers an intuitive Python interface which can be used to easily solve problems in computational mechanics, and I intend on constructing exercises in Phoenix to help teach students concepts in mechanics. What you see here is a first step along this road. Here, I have a version of Phoenix working inside a Python Django installation. When I run the code to solve the Poisson's equation with homogeneous boundary conditions on a square plate, I get the following solution field. So we have homogeneous boundary conditions, so the field goes to 0 on all the 4 boundaries, and we have some value for the field over the domain. If I were to change these boundary conditions, for example, so let's make it go to 0 only on 2 surfaces. We end up with a different solution. Extending this to simple mechanics examples is reasonably straightforward, and that's what I intend on doing next. And now that we've previewed the site, just who is the primary audience for Mechanics Academy? The site is directed at university-level students, industry professionals, and anyone who wants to learn mechanics but lacks access to local expertise. I intend on starting with course material at a fairly advanced level and then reaching a broader audience with more basic content in time. And who's going to be working on Mechanics Academy? Initially, the team will just be me. As you've already gathered, if you've made it this far, my name is Harish Narayanan, and I am a postdoctoral fellow currently studying cardiac mechanics. As you've just seen, I have already constructed a basic website with a suitable backend to house initial content. I'm starting to work on creating initial lecture videos and supplementary material for a first course on computational biomechanics. When I post this content, I will offer limited support through the website. But the team will soon have to grow. I have many ideas for features and content that can only be created if I have a few more people helping me. For example, a suitable team could start with me expanding my role to also act as the main coordinator and evangelist for the project. Alongside my teaching responsibilities, I could encourage other academics to join the team and publish educational content that's near and dear to their hearts. In addition, having a front-end web designer and a back-end web programmer, even if only on the short term, will greatly help in developing a delightful learning experience for students. Having a media guy around will make polishing and publishing content painless for instructors. Lastly, but perhaps most importantly, having a team of talented researchers around at Simula, the laboratory where I work, will be tremendously helpful. And how will Mechanics Academy generate revenue to pay for all of this stuff? Once the site houses a reasonable amount of quality content and starts to draw a community of students, there are various ways in which it can be monetized. For example, the site can have a tiered pricing model for content similar to Treehouse. The site could similarly offer a tiered pricing model for support, where basic support is free and more personal time-consuming support is charged for. I believe that by putting up thoughtful courses, the site allows instructors to demonstrate their expertise on various topics. This opens up opportunities for consultancy and makes them attractive to clients who are interested in specialized content. Alternatively, since the site will draw a very specific audience, there are numerous interesting options for targeted advertising. Furthermore, the resulting distribution tools and research into technology-based education are inherently valuable. This knowledge can be used for other such projects, or the expertise can be sold to others who need it. And why should I be getting into Mechanics Academy? I have listed a few points on this slide, but they mostly boil down to one thing. Mechanics Academy targets a niche market, one that I'm knowledgeable in and passionate about. In fact, I'm so passionate about it that I had to reiterate it on its own slide. To recap, many people today are investing significantly in technology-enhanced education. If Mechanics Academy is to make a significant impact, it's important that it develops high-quality learning experiences for students and it develops all this stuff soon. And for that, I need your support. And on that note, I'd like to conclude my talk. If you'd like to learn more, please visit the Mechanics Academy blog or email me. I hope you found my idea interesting, and thank you very much for your time.